Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi K, for bringing me into the latest machloket among the Jewish people about where the Haftarah should begin and end. I hadn't tracked that new story, but I'll give one more reason why I hope Holy Blossom Temple will always remain true to this Haftarah as it's constructed and as Jill chanted, and that is because we got to hear twice about holy blossoms. And these verses and the poetry of Hosea are so beautiful that we've actually inscribed them on the balconies of Holy Blossom, of our new atrium. So there it is written. You can see for yourself over lunch. God says, I will be like dew to the people of Israel, and they shall blossom like a lily. And then again in verse 8, those who sit in the shade shall return to me. They shall grow their fields and blossom like the grapevine. So I love those verses, and they are ours. Okay. So I'm going to share a little bit of teaching, and then twice we're going to have a chance to talk with our neighbors, okay? Because one of the benefits of coming to shul is to share our stories, to hear other people's stories, and to find new insight into them, and to see how our own little stories actually are weaving together to make the big story for the Jewish people. So you can prepare for that. It's one of the benefits of a quiet Shabbat here in the Mishkan, is we can turn to one another. So our parsha describes that famous scene. As night falls, Jacob lays down along the way. He takes a stone for a pillow, which is such a great and strange detail, and he dreams a dream. As it is written, Vayachalom v'hinei sulam mutzav arza, v'rosho magia hashamayma, v'hinei malachei Elohim olim v'yordim bo. He dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set on the ground with its top reaching to heaven, and behold, angels of God ascending and descending upon it. Now, there are hundreds of artistic depictions of this scene, and there are just as many rabbinic interpretations of the dream. One of the most playful of the midrashim on this verse turns to the little word bo. Olim v'yordim bo, angels ascending and descending on it, meaning on the ladder. But Midrash Rabbah records Rabbi Yanai's creative translation that the word bo can also mean not only upon it, upon the ladder, but also upon him, upon Jacob. Olim v'yordim bo, angels ascending and descending upon him. That's a fair translation. What could it possibly mean? There are at least two ways to visualize this now, and each comes with its own insight. The first possibility is that Jacob is lying down horizontally on the ground, and the angels are jumping up and down on Jacob like a trampoline. Olim v'yordim bo, ascending and descending upon him. Now, why would they do such a thing, right? It makes our stomachs hurt just to think about it. Rabbi Yanai lives in the 3rd century in Israel, and he offers a political interpretation. The angels represent Babylonia, Media, Greece, and Rome, and all the kingdoms of all time. And Jacob is just the little Jew, the patriarch of a small people attached to a small land who's just trying to get by. And these great empires literally rise and fall upon him. Some will look upon Jacob's descendants and leap heavenward. Some will see the wisdom of Torah and will aspire to it and ascend because of it. That's the way it goes with some empires. Some will hear our call for justice and sing out praises to the high heavens, and the promise of Jacob's dream becomes more and more fulfilled. As it is written, all the families of the earth shall bless themselves by you and your descendants. Those are the empires that ascend upon Jacob. And then there are other generations, Rabbi Yanai explains, where there are nations of the world mocking and maligning Jacob Israel, despising and degrading his descendants. They look for ways to hurt and harm, and they will wrongly assume that if only they humiliate Jacob's descendants and put them down, bring them low, then they will grow taller and more powerful and walk with greater confidence and worth. But it is not so. Power may be amassed for a time, but it never lasts when that is the way an empire grows. History shows that the way a civilization treats its Jews is often the litmus test for determining the health of that society. On Tuesday afternoon, I spent a few hours at Queen's Park at the invitation of Sija, and I had a series of small meetings with the premier, with a number of MPPs from across all the parties, and I never left the room without saying to them, yes, we are here today, I am here today representing the Jewish community and our concerns, but I want you to know that we are also here, and I am also here, with concerns for Ontario. That what I see in our public schools shows cracks in the health of our schools, our public schools. And what I see in the streets of our cities represents cracks in the health of our society as a whole. That our democracy is at risk, and it needs to be addressed. So we feel this shift. We might not understand it yet. I don't claim to understand it. And we do pray for a time of ascent rather than descent, but God only knows. There are days we read the morning news and we wish to wake up like Jacob to find that it was all a dream. But we must be courageous enough and honest enough to see our reality with discerning eyes, to accept it. Like Jacob, we must know where we are, where we come from, so that we can walk into a future not yet discovered for ourselves and for our descendants. So here's the first prompt for a conversation with your neighbors, either in front of you, behind you, next to you. The question is, what have you witnessed? It could be from long ago or more recently. A kind of descent, a kind of angel jumping on our people, the descendants of Jacob. And what did you do to confront it? What did you do about it? And it could be a very small example. Maybe a conversation you had with a neighbor, or a conversation you had in your workplace. Maybe you wrote a letter and took up a civic response, like what our advocacy committee, thank you, Eli Mogul and Rabbi Kay, what our advocacy committee every other week suggests we do to take up our civic responsibilities by sending an action item. Or maybe it was something more public that you did through social media, or an op-ed in the newspaper, or showing up at a demonstration. So once you responded, this is the last prompt I want to give. What did you see? What did you witness? What did you do about it? And then, what was the response to your action? How did it go? Did it go well? Did it not go well? What did you learn from the way that you stepped forward? How might you do it differently now? In just a few moments, see if you can share your stories. Okay, let's come back together. Now, I know you well enough to know there are many good examples, because we are people who do not tend to sit still. And I hope folks at home that maybe there was a conversation through the chat. I should have prompted that for you. The second round, I will. So maybe one or two examples that you'd like to share, either your own or one you heard from a fellow congregant. Who has an example? Sure.
So I have a son, and so does Denise Gordon, who was very, very fortunate to go to the arts program at Claude Watson Secondary School, which is held in Earl Hague. And I was so utterly appalled when I heard that Earl Hague had played the national anthem in Arabic. And I spent quite a lot of time drafting and sent a letter to the Minister of Education talking about what a terrible thing this was and how that program at Earl Hague changed my kid's life. It did. He was in a screen arts program and is a working, busy cameraman who still works with the very multicultural cohort of kids who were in that program. And what a beautiful thing it was, and how it's been destroyed by the lack of merit that's been used in their lottery system, which has since, I understand, been abandoned. Anyway, I got a letter back from the Minister of Education thanking me for the letter. I don't know if it was from him or a staffer. And he said that he was forwarding it to the principal of the school and that he shared my sympathy. So he was sympathetic towards my feelings.
Great.
So maybe that letter and the many others I'm sure that were written will make a difference.
Great. Thank you. Yasher koach. Very well done. So for folks at home who may not have heard, Susan gave an example of a school where her children went long ago, but she was upset by the news of the day of how the school was, well, I won't go into it, but she did something about it. She took out her pen and she wrote a thoughtful letter, and it seemed to have been heard, received, and took on an impact of its own. So, yishar kochech. Maybe one more example? Yes, Dan.
I was shocked at how the 1978 conference was in grade 2.
Here, Dan, come up. Dan and Cynthia, come to the microphone. That's okay. That's okay. Do you want to come accompany him? Sure. Just into the microphone. Yeah.
Thanks. I was utterly shocked that at that young age, somebody would call me a dirty Jew. And I've never been called that to my face again, although I'm sure people have thought it. But I was just staggered. I got staggered. And when I told my parents, they said, oh, that happens all the time, which was not what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. The fact that that memory stays with you so many years later goes to show how just one word can sting and stay with us for decades. Okay, so there's another way to understand Rabbi Yanai's teaching. The first way, Olim v'yordim bo, ascending and descending upon him, Jacob. The first way was a political read, the angels jumping up and down on Jacob, who was sleeping horizontally. The second reading is not political, but more personal, or I would say even religious. Jacob is not Israel in this reading of the text. He is not yet the father of the Jewish people, but Jacob is Jacob. He is just one person, a person of flesh and blood trying to make something good of his life. So here, imagine Jacob is not lying down, but he's standing up on his feet. And that ladder that's described as having its feet rooted in the ground with its top reaching towards heaven, and behold, angels of God ascending and descending upon him, we can imagine that Jacob himself is the ladder. You can see it? Jacob is the one stretched vertically, with his head reaching towards the heavens and his feet planted firmly in the ground. This, Rabbi Yanai says, is the very image of the ideal Jew, or even the ideal person. I love this teaching so much, I actually shared it at the High Holidays. Each one of us must aspire to be the kind of person who can chain heaven and earth. Each one of us is capable of dreaming up lofty ideas and ideals worthy of God's blessing, and then planting them in the here and now, in the day-to-day world. Let them take root here where we live. So why do the angels ascend and descend upon Jacob, who holds himself up like a ladder? Because they are confused. The angels are confused by the human capacity to be both in the heavenly realm and simultaneously in the earthly realm. How can it be that human beings are both touched by God and living here on earth? Aviva Zornberg says the angels are agitated as they see Jacob's stance like this. The angels are nervous because of Jacob's ladder, because everyone knows that angels can only do one thing at a time. Angels are like robots, heaven sent, programmed by God to perform one mission at a time. And so the angels are flustered and confused or even jealous of Jacob's human capacity to reach for the heavens and simultaneously be of this world. But we're not confused by it at all. We are not baffled. We know all about it. We know what it takes to aspire to live a life of mitzvot, to stretch ourselves, to be challenged, to hear God's call, to live up to the God-given potential within each one of us. And at the same time, we know what it means to keep it real, to keep our feet on the ground, to be grounded, and to make our mark on this world. So now, my second prompt for you, second question, for a brief conversation with your neighbor. I have seen how for many, the antidote to the anti-Semitism that we fear is to go ahead and do Jewish, just to be Jewish, but a little louder, a little prouder, with a little greater regularity and intention. So my question for you is, what mitzvah have you picked up as a response to the moment? I know many are volunteering in the broader Jewish community. I know many have taken up a personal practice, either for your home life or your synagogue participation. What does it feel like to anchor yourself in this way in Jewish tradition? So talk amongst yourselves for a few moments, and also those at home through the chat. Okay, everyone, let's regroup. So who has, maybe just shout out an example of some mitzvah that you've taken up? Bernice.
I'll tell.
Yeah.
She said that as of 2 years ago, she took off her Magen David and she wanted to start wearing again, and she was going into a cab and her housekeeper suggested she didn't wear it, but she ended up putting it on anyway. She's now wearing it again. She feels braver to wear it now.
Wonderful. So for the sake of folks at home, Bernice says that it wasn't her habit before 2 years ago to wear a Magen David, and now she's sure to do it, even if others worry for her well-being. Okay? And one more example? Joined Holy Blossom Temple. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so we'll continue the conversation over bagels. This Shabbat, we pray that the world will be blessed with angels only ascending upon Jacob. May nations of the world be guided by governments and advisors ascending to do what is right and just. And when we see otherwise, let us be brave enough and wise enough to shout it out and to do so skillfully and with care, and God willing, with good allies and partners as well. On this Shabbat, at this time of a measure of fear, may each one of us consider how to make of ourselves a ladder, stretching towards lofty aims and sacred purposes, taking up mitzvah after mitzvah to root ourselves firmly in the here and now, and to receive God's blessing. Vayachalom v'hinei sulam utzav arza. Let us be brave enough to dream a little, so that, behold, we can be ourselves that ladder on the ground, reaching our heads towards heaven, with angels of God ascending and sometimes descending upon us. Amen. Shabbat shalom.